I made a bad guy. Now granted that's not normally a good thing, but in this case it's a very good thing. Hi, I'm Blah, and today we're going to be going over the Sentinel animation project. And by Sentinel I mean the swimming fish monster things that appear in the Matrix film, which started off as this small character model and has ballooned out into a much larger animation. I needed to create something at the beginning of the year that was organic and hard surface, and I went, there's a new film coming out, maybe I should just take the thing from that thing and just make it. But the film wasn't out, and so I went back to the second and the third film and I copied their Sentinel. Fast forward a month and I've created an object and I've decided that I wanted to make a short with it. Now what the Sentinels are, they are flying robots that were originally made for construction purposes. Fast forward till the age of the Matrix, they are used a lot as security. They fly around the old tunnels of the megacities and destroy anybody they can find. I went with the second and third films because they were more recent. Their design had evolved a bit. Every single incarnation of the Sentinel seems to be different, but the core principle of a flying killing machine is always the same in them. So that's why I chose the ones from the second and third film. They were the most recent and the best looking in my opinion. Still are, Loki. Ha, shade. So I made a blob, and then I did the bit I'm actually good at, which is turn the blob into a mesh with hard lines and curves. The Sentinel themselves are actually quite a difficult thing to make. It's got lots of different interconnected parts, like the eyes all curvature into them. It's kind of like looking at a car from about the 50s with like lots of smooth lines and everything just fits into its own place. But it's also got a lot of pincers and a lot of tentacles. Now the pincer arms they're all pretty much identical on mine. I think there might have been actual differences on the ones in the movie, but again, finding reference images for particular designs, especially on the real life props where they were broken apart, is very difficult, so I decided to stay with the same pincer design for each arm. And you might be wondering about why I'm saying each arm, and that's because there's actually 10 arms. That's 5 on each side. Also on the underside that we have smaller pincers. I was very unsure of whether to include them or not. It's a callback to the first film. When you see one of the Sentinels cutting into a hull, you see little arms moving. Last but definitely not least, we come to the tentacles. There's 15. So the problem making tentacles is that you need to figure out a way to animate them properly. If you're wondering what the basis of that is, there's a curve, there's a spline IK, which makes a series of bones that will always fit to the length of that curve. There is 5 anchors on that curve, so you can make it twist it into any shape you want. And on top of that, there's actually another curve to control where those 5 points goes, which only has 2 anchors, one at the beginning and one at the end. So in the end, you have a choice of using either 2 points to scale and move the entire section, or you can use the 5 smaller ones to really pinpoint where you need it to go. And since it's all using a spline IK, it locks where you want the claw to go instead of it being able to move along a curve backward and forward. Coming up with that solution actually took several weeks, and I'm pretty proud of it, because it still allows me to do things like move the entire group as a whole. Instead of doing it individually, I can make them wave around like they're swimming, but I can also quickly pose them into place. This model set actually has 3 versions of it. We've got the high poly, which uses about 7 or 8 million polygons. It's got 4K textures in a lot of parts. There are other parts that have got like 1K textures, but it's quite a beefy boy. So it's your hero prop. It's the one that's meant for close-ups, getting closer and closer and closer. But we also have a far away version. So it's more meant for seeing the ones fly away in the background. Instead of having several million, it's got about 150,000, which is still a lot for a blender rig, but it's a lot more manageable. The third rig is actually my puppet rig. I use puppets most of the time. Most of my characters that I animate with have a puppet. The idea is that it can do everything that I need to be animated, but it uses such less resources that I can run it at real time. And that's where we are. At the end of the project. It's not the end of the project. It's nowhere near the end of the project. At the end of the day, did I make something that I'm able to use? The answer is yes, but only because I iterated on that design. If anybody's wanting me to go over more about how the spline system works, if you want me to go in like a tutorial wise, put it in the comments, because I don't know if people want to see that. It's that useful for people to see that. To thank everyone for coming and sticking around as I ramble on about my little Sentinel project. He is a bad guy, and I needed a bad guy. And so we got a bad guy. Next up, we'll be talking about the bunker, and we might even go into more of what the story is. If you like this video, to like, comment on it, and subscribe. Yeah, YouTuber. Cringe tuber. Just remember to have fun doing whatever it is you will be doing, and be productive. And I'll catch you all later. Bye. This is like the 4th time I've made some videos. Na 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 for this one video. Okay, enough of wasting the internet.